Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of the masters, and the compassion and mercy of the grand predecessors, uh, le- uh, senior transmitters, lecturers, temple masters, everyone for giving me this opportunity today to talk about today's topic, which is chapter 58 of the Tao Te Ching. The title, there are two. It's called Observe or Scrutinize Governance or For Governance, okay? So it's, the simple, the basic level is, we would think, oh yeah, it's a ruler, but it's also internal, okay? So it's both. But anyway, okay, so it's divided. It's it's not as long as the previous three chapters, but it's still above average. Okay. Anyway, so it's divided into four sections. The first four phrases is section one. This is the key section. If you understand this section, you should understand the whole chapter, and also it ties back to the last section. Okay. Then the middle two sections are basically his analysis. You can say his analysis, or he's stating the what the you can say the facts are, or the realities are. Okay, and then the conclusion. Okay, the conclusion ties back to the first section. All right, and it also is this last four phrases are link or to three chapters that we've gone through before, okay, which I will talk about in the conclusion. Okay, now let's go to the outline. Okay, so all right, so here it is, the first section. Okay, when the country's governance is lackluster, the country's people are simple and honest. When the country's governance is scrutinizing, the country's people are shrewd and crafty. Okay. Now, this word, man, okay, it's already been mentioned once in the Tao Te Ching, okay, previously. If you go way back to chapter 20, okay, chapter 20, I think it was like in the chapter 20 in the late what do you call that, second half of the, because chapter 20 is a very long chapter. Okay, it's in, as a matter of fact, it's in section, well, it's in phrase 20, the 20th phrase, if you guys want to check it out. Phrase 20, it's in the last section. It's like 1 2 3 4 4 last second subsection. How's that? Okay, all right. Okay, so what does that mean? Man. Literally, it means boring, dull, melancholic, muffled, stuffy. Okay, now he repeats it twice. It's to emphasize it. Okay, now in this context, okay, so boring, dull, depressed, melancholy, muffled. We tend to think that's more a negative quality, right? Negative, negative, or it's not that good, not that. But actually, from Lao in this context, it's positive. It just means, well, we say lackluster. That means it's nothing special, nothing, right? Lackluster. I don't want to say mediocre, but not. It doesn't mean that. It just means that it's nothing, nothing to be, how can I say, not I don't say nothing to get excited about, but it's very normal. Maybe that's a better way to say, very common, normal. So it reminds, what it means is implies it's easygoing, it's relaxed, it's laid back, okay, easy, lenient, generous. That's why it's positive. Okay, all right. So if you understand that, okay, so now, okay, the basic meaning, obviously on the external, at the kingdom level, as a ruler, right? Because that's what governance is, right? I mean, most of us would think what governance means. It just means when the rule is easygoing, relaxed, and laid back. That's what the first phrase means. Okay. Also implies there's trust. There's no need to the ruler doesn't need to watch over everybody, everything, right? There's a prevailing trust between the ruler and the subjects. Okay. Alternative, when governance is not oppressive, not strict, it means ruling in a benevolent and humane way, right? Okay. There's no big brother, right? Big Brother, right? You guys watch Big Brother. All right. Okay. Now, also, okay, so besides the kingdom scope, or the large scope, there's a smaller scope, which is at the personal level. It's about individual leadership, about leading with empathy and understanding, right? When you be as a parent, be as a manager, et cetera, right? Okay, right. So, okay, the scope of leadership includes oneself, the personal life, the family, parenting, and the workplace, right, etc. All right. Okay. Now, the 纯纯, that's what this second phrase. Let's go to the second phrase. That's this. Okay. That's this. The country's people are 纯纯. Okay. Simple and honest. Okay. That's what it literally means. It literally means simple, honest, genuine, pure, simple, unsophisticated. Okay. So if the rule, now we're looking at the kingdom level, if the ruler rules very relaxed manner, in a very empathetic, understanding manner, then the people have a natural inclination to be honest and simple, because the rulers, are being empathetic, sympathetic, understanding, benevolent, right? Benevolent, etc. Right? So the people naturally humane. So the people naturally would be that. Okay. So why is that? Because if you are easygoing, empathetic, understanding, humane, benevolent, etc., it allows people to manifest their natural inclination, which is to be honest, genuine, simple. Right? There's no need to hide anything. There's no need to put up a facade or pretense, etc., right? Right? There's no need, right? It's a natural response, right? Okay. So when the ruler, or the higher level, the ruler is reasonable and forgiving, people have no reason to hide or deceive. Now, whereas the opposite, if there's an oppressive ruler, right, very oppressive, very distrustful, right, ruler, then people naturally will fear, will want to hide, right, or deceive, right? So okay, so now this, okay, so this is better. So this way, the end result is that it's better for everybody, for the people, for the ruler, for the society, for the country, etc., right? So this means the benefits are that the leadership has a better insight on popular sentiment or morale, and that's at the kingdom level. And at the individual level, management, becomes more direct and effective. No more doubts or second guessing, always guessing, what the workers are going to think about, or what are they doing. Okay, all right. So, all right. Now let's go to the third phrase. Third phrase, right? It's here, third and fourth. These two actually go together because this is like A, B, right? A, B. Okay, all right. So when the country's governance is scrutinizing, okay, that means they're always watching over you, right? We have cameras on every street corner, right? Or whatever. Okay, all right. Okay, so uh, uh, okay, so to examine, to inspect, inquire, look into, observe, scrutinize, or be clearly. Okay, that's the adjective. But anyway, okay, so it's the just from a Lao Tzu's context, it just means that it's the opposite of lackluster, of relaxed, easygoing, benevolent, humane, empathetic, understanding. Okay, so just means that. All right. Okay, lay back, lenient, generous. Okay, it's the opposite. Okay, so at the government level, or the wide scope, when governance is scrutinizing and watchful, right? That's what that third phrase means. That's when the government is like that. That means they're distrustful. This implies distrust, because the ruler at the kingdom level, or the manager at the individual level, is always looking over the people's shoulders. So there's a need to check and double check everyone and everything. So that's distrustful, right? So this describes a rather aggressive and intrusive kind of control over others, both at the kingdom level, national state level, or at the managerial personal level. Now, at the personal level, what it means is that instead of being an easygoing or relaxed manager or boss or supervisor, rather this is a strict and nitpicking approach, okay, or right, okay, all right. Now, additionally, the third phrase, that for leadership in general, be it at the kingdom level, personal level, it just means that you're being unreasonably demanding, okay? Now, the fourth phrase, okay, fourth phrase is countries, people are shrewd and crafty. That's in response to when the country's governance is scrutinizing, okay, all right, or constantly watching over you, right, or distrusting of you. Okay, so now literally, che means deficiency, flaw, lack, to lack, to be scarce, to be, okay, but in this context, when repeated twice, it means craftiness, shrewdness, which is a negative trait. Okay, I mean, deficiency is already pretty negative, right? Yeah, it just means deficiency or flaw in one's character. Okay, so at the kingdom level, people are described as crafty and shrewd in a negative way because they have no choice. They're forced into it because the ruler, the government, is distrustful of them, is being very watchful, is being very harsh, right? Very strict, right? Okay, so that's why people are forced to do that. Okay, now people are forced to become crafty and shrewd in order to avoid the ever scrutinizing government, right? So when the higher level or the ruler at the higher, it is about finding faults. Okay, it is about finding faults and assigning blame. Okay, be it if you're a manager, right? You're always nitpicking, right? Always looking for the slightest error or whatever, okay, or misstep or whatever. So the personal level is therefore the lower level, the people, or the lower level, the subjects, must protect themselves in various ways, okay? So that is to cover your trail, keep things hidden to avoid more scrutiny or trouble. Yeah, more scrutiny, trouble, okay? All right, okay? And have the tendency to make things complicated. That's the people or the lower level people. They have the tendency to make things complicated and avoid responsible because they don't want to be scrutinized or be under the microscope or in the limelight, et cetera, et cetera. All right, okay. So the additional is that here is the more, okay, here it's this, it's that the ruler, or that's at the kingdom level, or you at the personal level, should take care of what needs to be taken care of. Just deal with major matters. Do not need to take care of what should not be taken care of. There's no need to look after the trivial matters. Let the people manage it for themselves, right? This way the kingdom or your personal life will be quite happy and harmonious. So we prefer empathy and leniency and do not prefer intrusion and scrutiny, okay? Now, here's the deeper understanding is that this is internal, okay? It's internal and external, okay? But anyway, all right, okay. So, 起正, that means, when the governance or when, it refers to a pronoun, it, him, he, us, they, we, whatever. But it means it in this case refers to the country, but it also refers to you, okay? So when you govern, when you are governing your life, okay, that's the personal ruler, right? When you are unperturbed, that is when you are at the original state of the Buddha nature. Yeah, that's the key. That's what this is. Okay, then you are relaxed. That's relaxed. That's our original Buddha nature. It's unperturbed, right? It's calm. It's also benevolent, obviously, right? It's calm, relaxed, right? It's not agitated. It's not perturbed. Then now we're talking about internal, right? At the personal level. Then your thoughts, that's the people. The people represent your thoughts internally in your mind, okay? Then your thoughts would be genuine. That is, it's non-conditioned, it's pure, it's simple, It's not complex, right? It's honest, pure, and simple. That's what, all right? So that's what it means too, okay? That's the higher level, okay, understanding, all right? Okay, so it's not talking, I mean, yes, he is talking about governance of the people by a ruler and also of your own personal life. But also internally, this is what it means, okay? Now, higher understanding is also the next sentence or next two phrases is that when you, the personal ruler, are perturbed, that is your critical, differentiating, or discriminating, that's the scrutinizing aspect. That means you are perturbed, you are disturbed, or you are aroused, right? You are aroused, okay, perturbed, okay? When you, then your thoughts, that's the people, the thoughts are flawed. They're conditioned. They become conditioned. They have what? Uh, um, they are they have agenda, contrived. They become contrived, right? Remember chapter 38, right? 38, right? Okay, right? High benevolence, right? High righteousness, et cetera, all that, right? You have contrivance. That's what condition means. It's, you have contrivance or you have agendas. You have intents. You have intentions. You have purpose. That's the crafty, cunning, and shrewd. Okay, that's what it means. All right. So the implication is this: it's governance should be easygoing, and relaxed. So people will be honest and simple. That's the external. That's the government level. To be scrutinizing is not a good thing at all. It forces others to be crafty and shrewd. Well, just at the both government, you know, at the ruler level, kingdom level, and at the individual level. This can all be applied to our lives. It's about leading with empathy and understanding, about being reasonable and forgiving, about being trusting and non-intrusive. All right. So, uh, 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 part one summary is the four things of governance in life. Okay. There are four, we say four, yeah, four things or four conditions. Okay. First one is scrutinizing. Okay. So we have to be careful. Okay. We should not be hypercritical, right? We're always nitpicking, right? Looking for every little misstep or error or, you know, whatever, see the, see the dust, see the speck of dust in thy brother's eyes and miss the log in your own eyes, right? Stuff like that. Okay. So this is contrary to the Tao. Okay. Because we should rather be what? Benevolent, forgiving, etc., understanding, empathetic, right? Okay. Then the second aspect is the crude and the crafty or the shrewd, the cunning. Okay. So if you are hypercritical, then what happens? People then are forced to figure ways to avoid scrutiny. Okay, to be under the limelight or the magnifying glass, etc. Right? People. Okay. So that's, these two are negative, right? This one is A and B, right? This, if you are like this, then this is the result, right? So if you are scrutinizing, be it at the ruler level, at the individual, or at the personal individual level, then the results are people will be crafty and shrewd, right? In response. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if you are lackluster, that is easygoing, relaxed, right? Benevolent, and all that, humane, understanding, empathetic, then the Tao Code should be like that. That's what, as a matter of fact, that's what our Buddha nature is like. Okay, those are the attributes. You can say the manifestations is like that. Okay, the Buddha nature. We'll get to the last section. That's when it becomes clear. Then the response. What's the response? It's that people will be honest and simple with you, right? People are open, right? They'll be trusting with you. Will not mistrust or distrust you. Okay. All right. So that's what it means. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Oops. Sorry. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go back. Okay. Let's go back. All right. So the key is this: both as a ruler or as an individual, to rule humanely and lead with empathy is in accordance with the Tao. When a person is reasonable, people have a natural inclination to be simple and honest. Whereas going contrary to the Tao means you will get poor results, right? You will get distrust, right, etc. All that stuff. People will becoming shrewd, etc. So being too demanding may get you less, not more, right? So that's why we should not be overly domineering, right? Demanding, etc. Okay. So in the Tao, being crafty and shrewd is not a positive trait. It is positive trait. It is a negative context of being deceptive and devious, shifty and tricky. Being deceptive, devious, shifty, or I made a typo here, or tricky is a misuse. Oops. Hold on. It's a misuse. It's a misuse of one's intelligence. Okay, so to see how governance applies at various levels, let's go to table A. What's table A? Table A is here. Okay, so for governance. Okay, so there are different levels. I mean, I mean, you could. I mean, there essentially two main levels, but I split it up. Okay, so when the governance is lackluster at the kingdom level, right? The kingdom, the ruler gives people the appropriate level of freedom. At the workplace, now this is more like at the individual level. Okay, so okay, oops, I should do this. Okay. So at the workplace, scope or the rate, it's a manager who's easy to work for and easy to work with. Okay. Then at the family level, as a parent, parents encourage children to explore and learn within safety parameters, reasonable parameters. Or at the individual level, you maintain discipline on yourself, but you go easy on everyone. So that's this is what a true cultivators, okay? All right, at the self, okay? All right. Then if you want to go to what, the result when you are lackluster, or, I would say, that when you're relaxed, easygoing, lenient, generous, etc., right? When people are honest, right? That's what it is. That means at the kingdom level, people contribute to the kingdom with no reason to hide anything. At the workplace, people focus on their work, knowing management will support them. At the parent level, the children are happy or glad to maintain communication, right, with the parents. They'll be honest. They'll be honest, right? Honest, simple, plain, right? They won't hide. They won't be devious with the parents. And then at the individual level, people appreciate you for being transparent. So they open up to you. So they trust you, right? So they believe you. Okay. Now, then the next two, this is the negative part. Okay. When you are scrutinizing, okay, when the ruler is scrutinizing at the kingdom level, it's a tyrant, right, who mandates numerous inspections or laws, rules, etc. At the workplace, it's a manager who's difficult, known as the boss from hell. At the family level, parents are overprotective. Okay, parents are overprotective and try to find out every detail, right? So that's why they would try to look into the children's phones, check their messages or whatever, go into their Facebook or whatever. Okay, that's too much, right? That's being overly watchful, right? Okay, scrutinizing, right? And then at the self level, oops, you get into other people's business and often ask, why wasn't I told, right? So you become a busybody, nosy, etc., intrusive. Okay, so we have to be careful. All right, so do not be scrutinizing. Okay. Now, the response. Oops. Oh, shoot. This is wrong. Sorry. People are shrewd. It should say people are shrewd. People are shrewd and crafty. Sorry. I don't know what happened here. Okay. All right. Okay. People are shrewd and crafty. Huh. I didn't check that. Yeah, I didn't miss it. Sorry. Okay. So then at the government level, right, the people will quickly figure out how to evade government control. At the workplace level, employees are not forthcoming about work or opinions, right? And then at the family level, the children will no longer talk to the parents, right? They shut off. Okay, and then at the self, people actively avoid you and prefer to exclude you from it. Okay, so we have to be careful. All right, so that's the thing to avoid. Okay, so that's that. Let's go back to the outline. Okay, so let's go back to the outline. Let's go to section 2. Oops, section 2. Okay, so section 2 is misfortune, alas, is what fortune depends upon. Fortune, alas, is where misfortune hides beneath. Who knows their ultimate end? They have no determined outcome. Okay, so let's look at the first phrase. Okay, first phrase. What does that mean, first phrase? Misfortune is what fortune depends on. See, okay, so the key is, okay, here. Basic meaning is, okay, misfortune and fortune, they're the ups and downs of life, right? Like a roller coaster, right? The ups and downs, right? Because nothing lasts forever, right? There's no, right? No, there are no, it's not fixed forever, right? That's impermanence, right? People, everything is impermanent, right? So even fortune is impermanent, and even misfortune is impermanent, right? There's no what we call permanent fortune or permanent impermanence, permanent misfortune. All right, so that's why. Okay, so now most people see misfortune and fortune as opposites. Yeah. Okay, it is on the superficial level. That's true, but what hidden underneath or the underlying is that the real reality is that they are connected. Okay, so let's look at Appendix A. Okay, so such as, okay, misfortune and fortune, right? Okay, which is it? All right, which is it? Let's look at love. Okay, people love. Yeah, when people fall in love, marriage, right? Marriage is considered positive, right? People, right, to be together. And divorce is negative, right? Isn't that right? Yeah, divorce, right? It's negative. Okay, but here's the thing. Suppose, yes, at the superficial level, yeah, most people say, yeah, to get married is positive thing. People are in love, the two are in love, et cetera, et cetera. They could start a family, whatever, together. And divorce, splitting up is bad, right? So, okay, but sometimes, it depends on, but a lot of times, people get married for the wrong reasons or do not understand each other. So they end up in a very poor relationship, even though they're married in name, right? Legally speaking. Okay. So when they divorce, it may not be as negative as at first glance as the superficial. It may be better for these two individuals because they could be, you could say, incompatible. They have differences that they cannot make up, that they did not come up when they first met and got married, right? It's only after living together for a while, boom, all these little differences start coming out, and it grew bigger until it's that they can't reconcile with each other, and that it became a bad relationship. It could be abusive relationship. For example, turned out that one or the other, the spouse or whoever, became very controlling, very abusive, very domineering, right? So splitting up, divorce, which most people tend to think it's negative, it's actually better for these two people, right? So that's why I'm leading to, at the end, we would talk in the third section, that things are not fixed. There's no thing as a fixed, always positive or always negative. Now, people might say, well, then you're saying, well, what about, being benevolent? Isn't benevolence always good? Yes, but there are conditions when you are being too benevolent that could be bad too, right? For example, when you are raising a child, right? Yeah, if they even did wrong, they start lying or cheating or stealing or whatever. Yeah, you still have to discipline them. You can't say, oh, I love my children, they're awesome, whatever, I'm being benevolent, blah blah blah. That doesn't make sense, right? So that's what I'm saying. Okay, so relationship is considered positive, right? Most people think, yeah, it's good to have relationships, to have friends, to have connections, right? You don't want to be a loner, right? That's positive. Whereas a breakup, you have no relationship, let's say no friends or whatever. That's negative. So we got to be careful, right? So it's not, there's no extreme, there's no absolutes. That's the key. Okay, that's the whole key thing to this section. Okay, all right. Same thing at work. Okay, yeah, we say job offer. Yeah, that's great, right? Hey, I have 20 job offers, man. I just graduated. I got 20. Wow, isn't that fantastic? Well, maybe sometimes a job offer may seem very attractive. They give you high salaries or whatever, great benefits, but then your boss could be the boss from hell or whoever, right? Okay, it doesn't matter. Or the company is about to go under, but you don't know about it, right? So whatever, okay, versus losing a job. So people say, oh, I got unemployed, I got fired, I got kicked out, I got canned, restructured, whatever. It's bad, right? Yeah. You lost a paycheck, whatever. Yeah. But, some of the greatest inventors or entrepreneurs of this last, in history, they became entrepreneurs, or they startup, or they invented something or whatever. Okay, they come with something because they lost their job. I think Steve Jobs is an example, right? He I think he originally was working for Apple, right? Then he got fired. And then he went. He I don't know. He spent, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 15 years, whatever, out, doing his own thing, and he came up with the iPhone idea. Well, eventually he got hired back by Apple. But he did say in his biography that one of the greatest things that could ever happen to him career-wise was getting fired. So anyway, yeah, okay. So gain versus loss, same idea. Okay, remember way back, I forgot which chapter. I think it was in the 30s or 40s. We talked about a frontiersman, the old frontiersman, his horse, right? He lost his horse, right? So that's bad, right? Loss is negative. But then it turned out that his mare came back with a stallion, from okay. So they got, anyway, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so yeah, you get it. Okay, at the self level, at the personal level, we say lack of recognition, right? That's negative. I'm being ignored, whatever. I'm a nobody, whatever. Okay, but actually, that may not be as negative as saying, because it could lead us to be independent minded, to think for ourselves, to look at things differently. Okay, so okay, or we say getting sick. Yeah, when people get sick, right? That's negative, right? Yeah, who wants to get sick? Because that's suffering. That's called suffering, right? Okay, but within that suffering, okay, there is the seeds of some positive thing, means that it could help you, help us realize, hey, what's life all about? Is it all about, wealth, pleasure, power, status, fame? No, right? Because it doesn't do you any good if you're sick, right? If you're going to die anyway, what good are those things? You can't take it with you, right? They're not going to prevent you from dying, right? So it leads you to deeper realizations about life, right? So what is perceived as negative actually can transform into the positive, all right? So nothing lasts forever, all right? So that's something that we have to, okay, so all right, so that's anicca, right? That's what anicca means, right? Okay, so oops, okay, all right, okay, all right, where are we? Okay, let's go back here. First phrase, additional meaning. What is a misfortune or setback now may turn out to be a good fortune and luck later. This is because all the factors that led to misfortune are always changing and are not permanent, not fixed. That's anicca, right? That's what Buddha taught, right? That everything is anicca, it's Buddha, right? The first of the three we call the Dharma seals, if you want to call it that way. Okay, it depends on which one you want to look at. It could be the first one of the three. Okay, all right, the three Dharma seals. Okay, there's a long. This is going to be a long story, but I'm going to use. Let's see, I have time. Yeah. Okay. All right. Misfortune is not a permanent state. Yeah, understand, right? So after some time, it can transform to fortune. Now, this is a relatively long story. Well, it's not a long story by itself, but Yeah, it takes maybe close to 10 minutes. But anyway, it's the story of the king and the minister. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let me drink something first. All right. Once upon a time, long ago in ancient China, okay, there was not a unified empire. That China was fragmented. It was divided up into many, many, many little kingdoms, okay, or different kingdoms, okay. And uh, on the what do you call that, periphery, on the edges of of quote unquote China, or what we call China, or back then, there was a kingdom. There was a kingdom with a king, okay, and he had a very loyal minister that always, that's very wise and that always participated in, the king's activities, both at the court and outside the court, and also gave the king lots of good advice, okay, for the king on how to govern his kingdom. Okay, so one day the king is an avid hunter. He loves to go out hunting. He loves to go out into the boonies, into the forest, the wilderness, and conduct hunts, okay, in his kingdom, right? So one day, in one of these outings, you know, he was accompanied by his bodyguards, the palace personal bodyguards, as well as the minister, okay, you know. Okay, so they went out into this wilderness, to the forest, to hunt, okay, and they've been doing this for many many times, and these hunts usually last, many days, right? Okay, these royal hunts, okay, and I'm one of I'm um I you know one of the days, okay, of this hunt, the king spotted a wolf, in the forest, and he immediately grabbed his arrow, bow and arrow, and shot at it, and maybe fired, shot the wolf, and took it down, took down the wolf in one shot, in the first shot. So the king was really happy, and he was feeling very, very, you know, very good. All right. So he quickly galloped to the downed wolf, and because he was very confident, very maybe overly confident, he dismounted quickly and ran up to the dying wolf, or what he thought was the dying wolf. And as he got closer, he didn't realize. He noticed that, yeah, the wolf was dead. Well, it looks like he was dead. He was lying still. He wasn't making a sound. He wasn't moving. Was not. So it looked like he was dead. So he immediately went up to the wolf and took, and pulled out the arrow, pulled out his arrow, right? Pulled out this arrow, and he wanted to show he wanted to show his guards and the minister, yeah, how successful he was. As he did that, he turned around, and he didn't notice that the wolf was actually not dead. Okay, the arrow did not pierce, the vital organs of the wolf, but only, was you can say, was like a what we call that, a muscle wound or whatever. I think there's a term for it. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. So the wolf immediately jumped up and bit the king, and bit his left hand, okay, his left hand, because he was holding the arrow with his right hand, okay, and bit off his little finger, and then immediately ran off. So actually, the wolf was smart, cunning. He played dead. He played dead so that he can, wait for an opportunity, at least to get the arrow out, and to have the arrow pulled out, and run away, okay, to safety. Anyway, okay. So the king was, to put it mildly, he was really ticked off. He was very angry, very agitated, and he was in pain, okay, because his finger is gone, okay. So he was howling in pain, and then so all his bodyguards came and try to bind his wound and everything, stop the bleeding, whatever. I mean, it was not life-threatening, but it was still painful. Okay. And the king was really, really in a bad mood. Okay. He was saying, I thought I killed the animal, the wolf. But how come, he fooled me, he fooled me, he tricked me. Okay. So he was really, really, really feeling really, really ticked off because he thought, he was being cheated. He was cheated by and then so he said to the minister, so look, look what the wolf did. That wolf was, very shrewd, very, slick. I should have, killed him. Anyway, okay. But the minister said, and look what he did to me. He bit off my finger, and it hurts like heck. Okay. So then the minister, being very calm, very wise, and said, my Majesty, it may not appear as bad as it seems. Okay. So, you may have lost a finger, but it may be, it may be a good luck, even though you have misfortune right now. There's a misfortune, right? But it may be turn out to be good luck for you. So the king was really, because he was still in a very angry, agitated mood. Okay. So, either he didn't understand, he kind of misunderstood because he, once again, see, that's where we have to get our emotions under control. Okay. If we don't, then it could just escalate, right? Okay, snowball, okay, into something that you may regret, right? Or so the king, still being angry, still being painful, okay, didn't understand, what the minister was trying to tell him, and he misinterpreted the minister's words that, hey, are you mocking me? You're like mocking me, making fun of me, right? Saying, hey, I lost a finger, whatever, the wolf escaped, whatever, and now you're saying that, it's not really, it may seem to be bad luck, but it's not really bad luck. So he got really angry, even more angry. so then he ordered his guards to to throw his minister into the dungeon. Okay. All right. He was ticked off. See, so that's why we have to be careful. Okay, that's a lesson. Okay, all right. So okay. So, many weeks passed, many weeks passed. So the king hasn't gone on another hunt since this mishap. He lost a finger because he wanted to get his finger healed so that then he can grab the bow again, right? Use the bow. Okay. All right. So and it was coming along fine. So several weeks passed. Okay. Several weeks passed. The minister was still in the dungeons. Okay. And so he decided to go. Okay. Now after a while, after a few weeks, his fingers healed. He's no longer in pain, etc. And he could grab with his left hand the bow. Okay. No problem. Okay. So he decided to go on another hunt, another big outing. Okay. So this time he's also accompanied by his personal bodyguards, but not the minister because the minister is in the dungeon. Okay. So he went out this time. He, because, he, of that mishap in that earlier hunt, he wanted to go deeper into the wilderness, okay, into the frontier, okay, to hunt for that wolf, okay, all right. He really wanted his vengeance, okay. So he went deep. He went deeper into the forest, the wilderness, whatever, and it's very close to his frontier land, okay, very close, to the boony land, okay. It's okay, all right. And over a few days, they kept going deeper or something. They couldn't find a wolf, or any animal for him to, to shoot at. Okay. And he didn't realize, because he was so intent on hunting down that wolf, he didn't realize that, they're lost. They got lost in this forest because they've never been that far away or that far deep into this wilderness area. Okay. And unbeknownst to him and his bodyguards, they unintentionally ventured into beyond their kingdom's boundaries and venture into the frontier land where there are a lot of barbaric tribes, very warlike tribes, where that's their domain. So he inadvertently, because he was so intent on hunting down that wolf into the deep forest, they ventured into the barbaric tribe's territory. And not soon after, they ran into a trap. The barbaric tribe had laid out an intricate trap for them, and they had them all surrounded, and they ambushed the king and his bodyguards while they weren't vigilant, when they weren't okay. And all his bodyguards were killed outright, and they captured the king. Okay, and the king was saying, "Hey, don't you know who I am? Who am I? I'm the king. Blah blah blah. I'm the king. You can't do this to me." But the barbarians, they speak a different language. Okay, so they don't understand him, and they don't care. They couldn't care less. They tied him up and dragged him to their I guess their main camp or their capital, whatever. Which is a couple days away. Not close by. It's a couple days out. So the king was even more angry and more ticked off. Okay, so when he got dragged, I think this is by that time it's nightfall. Okay, when they came to the main camp or whatever, to the chieftains, to the barbaric tribes chieftains camp. All right, okay, and they lit up a bonfire. The barbarian tribes, the warriors, lit up a bonfire, and they started drinking and everything and celebrating. They were celebrating, and suddenly a high priest, a shaman of the barbarian tribe, came out and started, whatever, chanting, in his barbaric language, okay, chanting and doing the ritual dance. The king couldn't understand what they're doing. Obviously, he thinks that they're celebrating that they captured him, whatever, but he couldn't understand what else they had in mind. And then the shaman, the high priest, took out a big ceremonial dagger and started dancing around with it. Okay. Then it dawned upon the king that, maybe not too good. They probably mean to sacrifice him or to kill him. Initially, he thought to kill him. Then he realized, to his horror, that the shaman, the ancient, this barbaric tribe, they have a certain rituals, okay, that they do to certain prisoners, okay, all right, and it was not just to kill them. Yeah, they're gonna end up killing them, but they're gonna sacrifice them to their god. They have their own, primitive god or whatever, the god, and so what the king suddenly realized, dawned upon him, that the shaman, the high priest, with that big ceremonial dagger, was going to sacrifice him. Cut open his heart, cut open his chest and his belly, and take out his heart and his, I don't know, intestines, whatever, his organs, and offer it to their god. So to his horror, he was even more depressed and now even more desperate. Okay. So they finished their ritual dance and chanting or whatever. So the high priest motioned to the king for the barbarian warriors to take the king. He's still tied up now, all bound up, and to lie him down on a slab of stone. Okay, at the altar. It's like an altar. Okay. So then the shaman began his final chant and started raising his big ceremonial dagger and about to plunge it into the chest of the king. All right, that's been spread eagle on that stone slab. Then the shaman stopped suddenly, or the high priest stopped. He noticed something. He noticed something about the king, which none of the tribal warriors noticed at first. He noticed that, hey, this king was missing a finger in his left hand. And then the shaman stopped immediately and turned around and started, cursing at the barbaric warriors. Obviously the king couldn't understand, because of different language, and he was cursing them. And what he was saying, what the shaman was saying to the priest, that, you guys, the warriors, you guys are being disrespectful to our God, okay, to our deity, okay. You brought, instead of a worthy sacrifice, a complete worthy sacrifice, an honorable sacrifice, you brought a defective sacrifice, a flawed, because this king is missing a finger. Then the king finally understood because the shaman was gesturing to his fingers, his hand, etc., and pointing to the warriors. Says, "You guys brought shame." So the god's going to be angry if we sacrifice to the god, to our god, a defective sacrifice. This guy is missing a finger. He's not complete. So we can't sacrifice him. Because that would be disrespectful, and the god will punish us. So we got to be careful. We have to be careful. Okay. So he stopped the ceremony and say no sacrifice because this king, is a unworthy sacrifice, unworthy of a sacrifice. Yeah. Okay. So then the warriors were very shameful. So they quickly grabbed the king from the slab, and then untied him and told him to get lost because he's not worthy. He's not a worthy person anymore. He's not a worthy sacrifice. So told the king to get lost. They kicked him out. They booted him out. They want nothing to do with him. Nothing to do with him. So the king was like, whoa. He darn says, wow, hey, I'm no longer going to be sacrificed. So he quickly ran off in the dark. Okay. Now, even though he's not familiar, but he realized he saw the direction that that the when he was captured, that the warriors took him. So he went the opposite direction. So he kept going. He traveled for a couple days. He was hungry. He was starving. Whatever. Then he finally came to the frontier area that area that he was a little bit familiar, and he ran into a search party that his palace bodyguards has sent out looking for him. Okay, after he was missing, right? And so then they quickly secured him and took him back to his palace. Then he was so glad. He was so happy. He goes, man, I was not sacrificed. Thank God, And so he was very eager to tell everybody of his ordeal, and how lucky that he escaped this, sacrificial death. Okay, and so especially he was very eager to talk to his minister that's still in the dungeon. So he immediately ordered his guards to release the minister from the dungeon and bring him to the palace, and started telling him. He was so eager to tell the minister that, hey, minister, I was so lucky, and you're right. I didn't realize that, when I just lost my finger early in the earlier hunt, you were telling me, I thought about what you're saying. You were telling me that, hey, it may be a misfortune now, but it could turn out to be something that's good. That's lucky. Sorry, that's good. That's lucky. Because look, I got captured, and they would have sacrificed me if I had still had my finger. They would have killed. I would have died a cruel death, a cruel, painful death. But now, reflecting back on what happened and what you said, on the earlier hunt, I realized that you are truly wise, and I'm sorry I did not understand you, and I throw you into that. I'm very, very sorry. I did this to you. Now I understand. So so it goes to show that whenever you are faced with a death, the staring at death in the face, it could be a life-turning event, right? Okay, so anyway, so he understood. But then he said, something though, I learned something, but for you though, at that earlier hunt with the wolf, even though it may be unlucky for me at first and then turned out to be lucky, but for you, it turned out to be unlucky anyway, because I ended up throwing you in the dungeons. And, how lucky is that, right? That's unlucky. But here's this is very near the end now. But what the minister, being very wise, understand, he said, but your majesty, if you did not throw me into the dungeons, then that means I would have accompanied you on this last outing with you, and they would have also captured me. Okay, so if you are missing a finger and they would not sacrifice you because you're not worthy of sacrifice, but then who do you think the next sacrificial victim would be? It would be me. So I too would, because of you throwing me throwing me in the dungeon. That's a misfortune. That's bad luck. But it turned out to be good for me too, to be a fortunate of me too, because I would not accompany you and would have been sacrificed. End of story. Okay, so it's sorry, it's a long story, but it's pretty good points. So let's go to Appendix B. Okay, so here's the king of the minister. Okay, misfortune is what fortune. Okay, that's the first phrase. That's the phrase that we're talking about, right? The first phrase, the phrase 5 of section 2. Okay, here's the story. Okay, based on the ruler's perspective, the king's misfortune was not what it seemed, right? Similarly, the minister's misfortune saved his life, right? So misfortune, fortune, misfortune, fortune. Okay, so the king realized that the negative can lead to the positive. So life is all about this sort of transformation. Okay, we have to see that. We have to understand that. All right. Okay, so complaining about, okay, misfortune serves no one. Okay, right? I mean, you can blame heaven, blame earth, blame everybody, but that's not going to resolve that, right? Okay, but understanding is the key. Okay, to see through it, to see through this misfortune or fortune, even fortune. Okay, so I'm using misfortune because that's the story. Okay, so griping about a misfortune setback doesn't solve the problem, but understanding the transformation is the key to solving the problem. Okay, so this is not easy. This is not easy. Okay, so because most of us can't do this. Okay, we can't see the big picture. That's the problem. Okay, all right. So the king now, being, he realized he just escaped death, right? He realized that misfortune can turn to fortune. So he can apply this to all aspects of the rule. Okay, so to know how things can transform from there is a valuable understanding. Okay, that's the key. All right. Okay, now for us, so there's a lot more. Sorry. For us, okay, we encounter setbacks often and often assume the worst. That's the problem, right? We tend to go to extremes, right? And that's the problem. Now, it could be fortune too, all right? So you can just substitute, we okay, and we assume the best, right? So sometimes, so we encounter fortunes, right? Or, good luck, and often assume the best. Okay, so we got to be careful, all right? Okay, so a setback, however, may actually be an opportunity. It may actually be a good thing, because after a while, it may lead to the realization that we may not need it as much as we thought or as much as we valued it. So that's the thing, right? We lost something. Then we might realize that, you know what? It may not be as valued as we think or as attached that we are to it, right? Something, okay? So we can always learn from misfortune. When one door opens, another door opens. Okay, I'm sorry. When one door closes, another door opens. I know people will say, "Oh, you're always being an optimist." That's not true too, because when one door opens, another door could close. So we gotta be careful. All right. So don't go to either extreme. Okay. So that's, if we jump to conclusions, it is possible that we may miss the lesson. So rather than complain or get angry like the king, or like, for yourself, if something happened to you, the best thing to realize is that these reversals happen to everyone. It's not just a dark cloud, but there's a silver lining. So that's what it means that, okay, so he's saying that misfortune is what fortune depends on. Okay, so that's what that phrase is. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go back. Okay. So I hope you guys all get the idea, right? That's the whole point. I'm going to a lot of details, but Lao Tzu here is also going to a lot of details. Okay. All right. So, all right. Now let's go to the second phrase. Second phrase of section 2 is what? Fortune, alas, is where misfortune hides underneath. So that's the opposite now, the other side. Okay. So basic meaning is the complement to the previous phrase, that fortune can also transition to misfortune, just as misfortune can turn into fortune, right? So most people regard fortune as only a good thing, right? Yeah, right, because we say it's positive. Fortune is positive, misfortune is negative, right? That's only at the superficial level. That's only at the one level. Okay, they don't see that the yang within the yin and the yin within the yang. Within something good, there's always the seed of something bad. Within something horrible, there's always a ray of hope. All right? Okay, so Tao cultivators, okay, understand there is more beneath the surface. There is wisdom that we can benefit from. Beneath victory hides the seed of defeat. All right, we got to understand that. So, okay, so if good fortune makes you arrogant, that's where the seed of defeat comes from. Okay, if good fortune or victory or success, good victory, whatever. Okay, makes you arrogant, that is guaranteed misfortune because that's the seed of defeat. Okay, so let's look at Appendix B. Okay, that's where this phrase is, right? The second phrase of section 2 is where fortune is where misfortune hides beneath. Okay, so that's another level of wisdom is hiding in plain sight. From the ruler's perspective, initially, the king was excited, yeah, to have shot the wolf, or he thought he killed the wolf. What he thought was good fortune quickly turned bad. Now, in life, the positive can turn negative. This is the recurring pattern, the swing of the pendulum. Because once again, to that principle, right, of what Buddha taught, right, anicca, everything is not permanent. Everything is impermanent. So good and bad, good or bad, both are impermanent. Okay, good fortune, misfortune are impermanent. Okay, all right. So for us, when we succeed, it is easy to forget the possibility of failure. All right. And success or victory can make us arrogant and or complacent, right? Too much of a good thing can become extremely bad too, right? So victory in war sets the stage for future vengeance, okay? So understanding this is the first step to mastering this aspect of the Tao. Okay, this means the application of Tao principles, right? That just like anicca, same notion of anicca, or that everything tend to go into cycles, right? With turns around, right? Cycles, which you'll talk about section 3. Okay, so let's see, do I have time? That's 1 hour already. Okay, so even if you are in a conflict situation, you must still follow the Tao. That's the key. Okay, even in a conflict situation or in dire situations, okay, we must still follow Tao. But that means the Tao principles, okay, the Tao principles, our conscience, etc. Okay, you must still practice the virtues of the Tao. You must not go to extremes because if you go to extremes, that just makes things worse. That's just a snowball. That's what we call it. It's a what they call it, vicious cycle. It becomes a vicious cycle. Okay, so we got to be careful. The key is you want to transcend the vicious cycle or the cycle. Okay, so that's the key. All right, so that's key understanding. All right, so this is the only way to turn enemies into friends. Let's say in war, for example, we have conflict. Right? Okay, only when this happens will there be true victory in the context of the Tao. Okay, I think we talked about in chapter what's that? 50. Is it chapter 50? No, that's life and death. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, all right. Okay, so what was I going to say? Okay, so it is the only way to break the vicious cycle of vengeance. Okay, so yeah, that's why I say we do not want to perpetuate this vicious cycle. You have to transcend it by following the Tao principles, by practicing the virtues of the Tao. That's what sages do. That's what makes them sages, as opposed to ordinary human beings. Okay, all right, that's that. Okay, so let's go back. Oh God, there's more. There's more. All right, let's go back. All right, there's more to the. I'm gonna refer to the story. There's more. Okay, but because this section. Okay, this section is still it's pretty. It's very informative. Okay, let's go to the third phrase, right? The third phrase. What's the third phrase? Third phrase. Let's look at the third phrase. What's the third phrase? Third phrase says, right? Who knows? That's phrase 7. Okay. Who knows their ultimate end? Okay. That's the vicious cycle. Okay. Or that's the transformation, the constant change. Okay. And phrase 8 is they have no determined outcome. Okay, so that means nothing is fixed forever. So that's very important. Okay, that's a very important realization. Okay, all right. So let's talk about the third phrase. Here it is. This is a rhetorical question, right? He does not expect us to answer, right? That's basically he's asking, right? Who knows their ultimate end, meaning the transformation. There is no end. That's the problem. That's why we have what? I don't want to say eternal, but constant reincarnation for sentient beings, right? It seems to go on forever, right? There's no end. We don't know. Okay, it's hard to say, right? It's just okay. That's why. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, so it means no one knows how things will ultimately end. No one can say for certain if it will ever end. That's the key. Okay, that this constant, this yin and yang, this fortune, misfortune, etc., right? Okay, so that's the thing. Will it ever end? I don't know. Okay, will it ever end? Okay, all right. Actually, if it's phenomena in phenomena, it will never end. Because as long as there's phenomena, that is forms, objects, things, okay, the universe, the earth, people, living things, then it probably never end. Okay, so anyway, all right. So additional things. This does not mean we should give up, though. Yeah, so okay, if you're saying that, I'm gonna reincarnate forever, then what's the point? It doesn't mean that. Okay, there is a way out. That's why we are studying the Tao. There is a way out. The Tao will point us the way out to transcend this. That's what Buddha's teachings is, right? The Eightfold Paths, etc., right? The Four Noble Truths, etc., right? Okay, so this does not mean that we should give up or keep second guessing ourselves. We must not fall in the trap of giving up and not doing anything. Okay, so that's important. All right. Okay, so that's an important realization. It means always acting in accordance with the Tao, with present moment mindful awareness, having faith in the Tao and trusting the Tao will work out the best for us. Okay, now we're gonna have to dissect this and tell what that means. What's present moment mindful awareness means? Okay, all right. So who knows their ultimate end? Right. That's the third phrase. Right. Third phrase. Okay. So it's about the life's endless transformation. Okay, not just one life, but multiple lives. That's another cycle, right? That's another cycle. Okay, so anyway, but within one life, initially the king regretted losing his finger, right? He was angry, right? At that time, he didn't realize that it could turn out to be something good. Similarly, people have regrets about the past, and that's one of our biggest flaws or misunderstanding or misconceptions. We always say, if I had done that, or if I had not done that, in the past, okay, what I should have done or should not have done, right? This or that, okay? So that's what most of us fall into that trap, when we look back. I mean, I do it myself, okay? So, and that's not good, because what happened is then you fall into that cycle, that vicious cycle of regret, not regret or whatever, and you just spiral downward, into even more depression, etc., etc. Okay, so that's not a healthy approach. Okay, so what Lao Tzu is pointing out that such regrets are not the Tao. It's not the Tao. Okay, so there is no way to know how your life would have turned out if you had made a different choice. Right? There's no way to find out. I mean, you could say, I should have done that, or I could have done that. Okay, but there's no way that it would have turned out better. Okay, if you had met, it could be better or for the worse. It could be better or for the worse. We just don't know with any degree of certainty because there are too many variables. Okay, too many variables. Okay, so our quote unquote mistakes in the past shape who we are today. Right? Yeah. That's very true. Right? That's causal. That's causality. Okay, that's what causality means. Okay, so yeah, our quote unquote mistakes, we say mistakes, what we call mistakes, okay, in the past shape who we are today. This is true for everyone. Okay, now in the story, the king finally realized after he escaped from the barbarians that he judged too quickly about losing his finger as being a bad thing. Later on in the end, he gained the wisdom that this event, that is losing his finger, was neither bad or good. It just was. It just was based on circumstances, based on those conditions at that time. Now, a psychiatrist once noted the most unhappy people used these two words the most frequently. Which two words? If only. Now, I'm not an expert on psychology, but I think, or on the history of psychology, I think Emmanuel here, one of our class members, he's the expert on that, so we could ask him about that. But anyway, so the point is this. This is what I read. Okay, yes, I want. Okay, all right. That if only, and what is the if only? That's if. what's this if only trap? If only I did this. If only I did not do that, right? So, if only I could have done this, or I could not have done this, or if only I should have or I should not have done. All right. So the most unhappy people are held back by something that happened in the past that they cannot detach from. Okay. They're still so deeply rooted or vested in that quote unquote event in the past. No. There's some that are very traumatic, right? I mean, life or death issues, right? Whatever, or of a loss of a loved one, partner, etc. So yeah, there, or or child or parent or whatever. I mean, there are situations like that, right? I mean, I'm not saying that that's not necessarily bad, but I'm saying that we cannot be obsessed, because life moves on. You have to move forward. Okay, you have to. That's called present moment. But anyway, okay, they still feel the emotional aftermath of that event in the form of, it could be resentment, anger, depression, all that, the whole spectrum of emotions, right? Yeah. So we have to be careful. We do not want to, like, remember I said that vicious cycle that you get trapped if you say if only this or that or whatever, okay? Then that becomes a trap, and that leads to a downward spiral. It's a vicious cycle, okay? That then we're going to be in trouble. Then our life is going to be miserable. And okay, anyway, all right. So now we have learned about the Tao. We realize the reason for that unhappiness, how ignorant we were about the Tao, about the world, about how life truly works. Okay, that what do we realize is that we were too attached to that event or thing or object or person or whatever. Okay, that we become too attached, and that's what leads to that downward spiral. Okay, we cannot get above it. Okay, above it. Okay, so that's the problem. So that means we're ignorant about the Tao, because the Tao is not about that. Okay, the Tao is not about living your life in misery and all that other stuff. Okay, all right. Okay, and that's not how the life works or truly works. It's just a series of transition from good to bad, bad to good, etc., and just keeps going on. Okay, all right. So the world and our lives will always be a continuous series of transitions. It's continuous. It's always nonstop. That's the phenomenal world. That's the nature of the phenomenal world. There will always be difficulties, failures, problems, setbacks, or you can use the opposite. There will always be, I don't know what's the opposite, difficulty, success. Well, that's failure. Success, I guess, easy outcomes, easy things. Okay, simple, easy. Okay, I don't know what's the opposite, difficulty. Easy? I don't know. Whatever. Okay. There's another adjective for that. Anyway, but failures, success, problems, I guess answers, right? Setbacks, I guess will be whatever. Fortune. I mean setbacks. I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Transition to goodness, then you could do this the opposite to bad. Triumph. Okay, here it is. Yeah, goodness. I guess goodness, difficulty, triumphs, accomplishments, achievements. These are the reversals in life. They are natural, normal, and cannot be avoided. That's the problem. It's up and down. That's natural. Okay. So, sorry. Okay. If the only thing to do, here's the thing. The only thing to do, what we have to do, is to change the way we think, or the way we think of these transitions, the way we understand how these transitions work. We must get over the if only of the past and move on with our lives. Okay, that's the present moment. Okay, if we cannot do this, here's the problem. If we cannot do this, if we cannot move beyond the past, if only this or that, we will be forever dwelling in the past, fixated to the past, and become a slave to the past, a past that we cannot change and be extremely, right? The Buddha talk about the three minds, right? The mind of the past. That's what this is about. Okay. Also the mind of the future, but we're not talking about that. This is the mind of the past. Okay. So we have to get rid of that. The three minds. Okay. The Sanxing. Okay. We have to be careful. Okay. By getting rid of the if only is how we see the silver lining. Okay, this is how we see the door is actually unlocked, waiting for you to pass through to the next thing. So we cannot get stuck on this. Okay, that's okay. All right. So that's what present moment mindfulness means. Okay, that everything is always in the moment, which is the present, not the past, not the future. Okay, even then we cannot get attached to the present either. It just means that it's just now. Everything is now, in the moment. Everything is what we do, what we think, what we do, what we say, what we do is always in the now. In the now. It's just for now. Forget about, don't worry about the past. I mean, don't dwell on the past, and don't worry about the future. Okay, or don't set grandiose plans for the future. Okay, we gotta be all right. So that's what present moment mindfulness is. Okay, all right. So let's go back. I'm gonna I don't think I'm gonna finish this chapter on time, so we can save it for next week. Okay. Is it 3? Yes, it's 3. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's what trusting. Okay. Having faith. Okay. That's what this is. Okay. All right. Acting in accordance to our present moment. Okay. Now let's go to the last phrase. Last phrase says what? They have no determined outcome, fixed outcome. Okay. You can say that. All right. Okay. What this is that people sometimes think certain things are meant to be, destined to be, fated to be. That means everything's fixed, rigid. So that means you're saying, oh, I'm destined to be reborn again anyway. So what's the point of cultivating the doubt? I'm gonna reincarnate anyway. So what's the point? See, that's a trap. That's not good, because that you're assuming that, hey, my fate, my destiny is fixed. It's fixed. Okay, it's non-changeable. Non-changeable. We should not think like that. Okay. Yes, eventually we will die. That's non-changeable. Right? That's non-changeable. But what happens after that? That's changeable. Get it? Okay. What happens after we pass this physical life? That's changeable. That could be changed. Yeah. So okay. So that's what the bigger picture is. Okay. The holistic view. Okay. So another meaning is this. Okay. Is if this kind of thinking can be self-defeating. That's the point. Okay, it's not for me, not in the cards for me. I'm not meant for that, etc., etc. We start making up excuses for not trying, even because we already admit defeat. Okay, not because we thought or we think that, hey, our destiny is not fixed, because we say, hey, I'm gonna die, right? Yeah, that can't be fixed, right? But when we're going to die, or how we're going to die, or what happens after we die, that could be changed. That's changeable. Okay, so that's the point. All right. Okay. All right. So, okay. So Lao Tzu is pointing out that there is no such thing as predetermination. All right. So a lot of people, question, karma. The karma. When if you believe in karma, then you believe that everything's predestined. Wrong. That's that proves that you don't understand what karma is. Okay, that's proof. If you say that, use that statement. If you say that statement, then that's proof, evidence that you don't understand what karma means. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so there's nothing. Okay, he wanted us to think about the life differently, to face everything with a positive mindset. I shouldn't use positive, because I should say it's a transcendental mindset. Okay, transcendental mindset. I know, because positive, then there's negative, right? Positive, negative duality. Okay, it should be a transcendental, but people don't understand what a transcendental mindset means. Okay, anyway, to realize that there's no destiny or fate determining how things turn out. Rather, it is up to us to make that determination. That's also what goes back to present moment, present moment mindfulness means. That's what present moment mindfulness also means. That everything is in the present. Remember, what we do now will decide the future, or will influence. I don't want to say decide, because that's kind of strong. But if you're the Buddha, then that's different. But will at least influence the future outcome, right? Okay, so what we do now, that's a fact, right? Will influence, at least influence, or have a contributing factor. Okay, one of many. Yeah, there could be other factors, but at least you have one factor, or if you want to use duality, one positive factor, right? It could be negative factor if you do something bad, right? Obviously, right? Okay, but if we do something good, it will be one positive factor that will contribute to the outcome of the future, right? Okay, that's causality, right? Okay, all right. Okay, so if we are what the present moment mindfulness is that we are the ones who infuse changes. Times we infuse. Times we input. We you can say we affect. We effect. Well, influence changes and events with meaning. We're the one who infuse or give to. You can say infuse. Okay. Change with meaning. That's in the present moment. That's what we know. That's what it means to take charge of life. Okay, let's go to Appendix C. This should be the, well, no, there's another summary. Oh, shoot. Okay, Appendix C. They have no determined outcome. All right, okay, they have no determined outcome. It's non-definitive result. Okay, that's what the last phrase of Section 2 is. So life is not predetermined. That's the outcome. Whatever future outcomes of life, it's not fixed. People say, oh yeah, that's fixed. I mean, he is determined. He is destined to be a president, or destined to be a leader, destined to be whatever, or destined to be a beggar, or destined to be poor, or destined whatever. See, that's a very rigid type of thinking, and that means that you have no control of your life, right? If you say that, right? If you say, oh, I'm destined to be a failure. Oh, how many times I have no control? I can't do anything about it. What good is that? Then, what's the point of living, right? See, that's the downward spiral. That's what we have to avoid. We have to transcend from that, okay? So now, for most people, those who do not know the Tao or understand the Tao, life just happens. There's good fortune or misfortune. There's good luck or bad luck. Just happens. You are helpless and not in charge. And I'm a victim. That's, if there's a deity, right, or whatever, or whoever, I am destined by this deity to live this miserable life. Now, actually, there's a reason for that. It's not the deity that placed that destiny or fate on you. It's because of previous lives actions. But that's that's a different topic. That's about karma. Okay, so we don't have that. So the assumption is that we cannot prevent the bad things or hang on to the good things. Sooner or later, they will slip through you. That's the assumption, right? Now, partly it's true. It's partially true. But see, that's where a lot of these misconceptions have a long life, or have long longevity, or have a lot of following. It's because it's based on partial truth. Which is, so now it is a partial truth that good things and bad things do not last forever. That's a truth. That's a partial truth, but that's not the whole picture. The key is that's not the whole picture. Okay, so we're only looking at one aspect, or one variable, one fact, or one reality. That's a truth, one principle, one truth. That, yeah, good, at least in the phenomena realm, okay, good things or bad things are impermanent. That is true. So you cannot hang on to them forever. That's true. That is absolutely true. But then we assume the worst. We take it to the extreme, which means that, if that's the case, then there's nothing we could do about that. Then that's wrong. Okay, then that's wrong. All right. So now for the Tao cultivator, we work with what happens. Right? That's the present. Okay, we work with what happens. All right. Now we cherish the goodness of fortune, or we appreciate or enjoy, you can say, the goodness of fortune, but without losing one's head, without going to extremes. Okay, without arrogance, complacency, or attachment, or whatever. Okay, it's once when we become attached, then we get to this conclusion. Okay, so that's the problem. Okay, so we should not. If we have good fortune, if we are blessed with a good family, good job, etc., whatever, good health, whatever, but we cherish it. Yeah, we cherish it because it's what, it's something that's positive, right? That's good, right? But we cannot be attached. That's the key. Okay, we cannot be attached. All right. Okay, so you, Tao cultivator, will be vigilant, will be aware that this means awareness. Okay, will be aware of the seed of potential seed of misfortune. So we have to deal with misfortune and figure out how to transform into something good again. Okay, so that's the mindfulness part, the awareness part, the understanding that, hey, good things don't last forever, that there is a potential. If we do ABC, then XYZ will happen. Okay. If we become too arrogant, too complacent, too attached, then the misfortune will arrive. Okay. So that's where, okay. So therefore we have the power to determine what outcomes mean. Yeah. See, so if we understand that, hey, I have this good fortune right now, but I understand that it's not going to last forever. And I know that what I do now with this good fortune, okay, with this good fortune, all right, that will determine what will happen. So if I go overboard, then really bad things could happen. So therefore, you now have the power to decide what the outcome will mean for you. Okay. Say, hey, I don't want to go over. And I know that this is not going to last. Sooner or later, somebody you love, the happy family that you have, or whatever, the good job, or whatever, the high status, whatever, that will eventually end. That will eventually, because that doesn't last forever. The key is, how do we deal with that outcome? Okay. So that's what we have the power to determine. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, what's the conclusion? Okay. This is yeah. Okay. Testing your understanding. All right. To test your understanding. So here's the question: why do bad things happen to good people? Right. I mean, we see that all the time. I mean, or we'll flip it around. Why do good things happen to bad people? We could flip that around too, right? Why do good/bad things happen to good/bad people? Right? Is it because of karma? Yeah, we say, yeah, it's karma, it's karma. Okay. Now, yes, that's technically, this is the proper, the correct answer. Technically. Okay. But holistically, in the Tao, you want to transcend this question. Don't be, how can I say, don't be boxed in. Don't be cornered by this this perspective, okay, by this view, right? By thinking in terms of Tao. What does that mean? Transcend means you question the question. In this case, okay, so when you say bad, quote unquote, how do you know it's bad, quote unquote? When you say good, quote unquote, how do you know it is good, quote unquote? There is no denying that things can be good or bad. That's a fact, right? We can say, yeah, in the present, in the now. Okay, you can say something good or something bad happened to you. Yeah, that's correct. That's not wrong. But it is relative. It's still relative. It's not absolute, right? It's not bad forever or it's not good forever, right? It's relative. Okay. And it's going to be subject to change, right? We have to transcend. We know that the yin and yang, the yin is in the yang and the yang is in the yin. So if it's yin, we say that's bad. I'm using yin to as a generic term, okay, to represent bad in this case, or negative, right? Okay, and yang as positive, okay. Oh, good. So there is that interplay. That's phenomena. That's the way phenomena works, okay, or okay. But why? So the question is, let's not be fixated on these labels. Okay, so this goes back to chapter 2. Chapter 2, I think, talks about that. Chapter 2 or 3, yeah, okay, talks about, I think it's 3, maybe chapter 3. Anyway, okay, we talk about that. Other chapters too, but chapter 3 is more generic. Okay, so why are we slaves to society's judgment of good and bad? See, that's why a lot of people, today, especially, when we are, especially with the proliferation of and the omnipresence of social media, and all that, it's, that, you get bombarded, right, by societies, or people's, individuals' opinions, or views, or what's, good and bad. I'm just saying positive, negative, etc. It just so, and it becomes easy to be drawn into that, right? Okay, and then that means, okay, that means we are slaves. We become slaves to that judgment of good and bad, or positive and negative. So we need to go beyond and see the totality. That's why I said the holistic, the totality of the dualistic nature of reality, of the nature of phenomena, of the illusory nature of reality. Okay, because nothing is permanent. but subject, but you also have an influence. That's the key. So it's that dual, it's that blend, that balance. Yes, nothing lasts forever. That is absolutely true. That's the dualistic nature of reality. I mean, that's the nature of phenomena. That's the illusion nature. But you also have some influence. You can play an influence, and also you want to transcend beyond just trying to what, keep going into this vicious cycle of positive to negative, negative to positive, positive to negative. You want to transcend beyond that. Okay, that's the key. All right. So it's, a lot of it's the frame of mind too. Okay, all right, mindfulness. Okay, so we know tragedies do occur in life. That's a given. That's a fact. That's a fact, right? What we call tragedies. Okay, we how do you know that tragic? So loss of life, loss of whatever, loss of loved one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, natural disasters, right? Yeah, natural calamities, people, die, suffer, abject poverty, for what they are. Accept the situation as they are. Okay, that's not easy. That's not easy because people say, "Oh, you mean to tell me I should gladly accept that I'm going to be poor or I'm going to be in bad health or something?" So see, that's when we then assume that those states are fixed, are forever. That's not true. Okay, so then focus on turning them into positive energy and discover the positive into the negative. That's the key. That's the challenge. That's where, now I'm not talking about as a sage level. Sage level is totally beyond this. Okay, I'm still talking about just at the human level. Okay, as even a sentient being level, we still have to do this exercise. We still have to understand that nothing lasts forever. So if something that's good, bad's happening to me now, okay, I can still see the silver lining. I can transform that. I don't have to be defeated by this and say, okay, there's nothing else I can do. I'm going to be this forever and resign to that. Then that's the tragedy. That's the real tragedy. Okay, that's the real tragedy. All right. Okay. All right. So why not rise above the negatives or positives and define your own meaning? Okay. So that's the higher level. Okay. So we should know, I understand a tragic or happy event is not the end of the story. It's not the whole story. Okay. It's just a series, right? Continuous series of ups and downs, right? Of life. So now here it is. This is important. It is only negative. I should maybe put in quotation mark. But anyway, okay, negative. If we cannot see, or I say tragedy, if we cannot see the possibility for the positive or negative, that's the tragedy. Okay. So it is only, quote, bad, unquote, if one does not understand the Tao and does not realize the possibility of transformation into a greater goodness or the seed of misfortune, right? Because it is only good, quote unquote, right? If we're gonna see that. So understand what really good and bad really means. Okay, you gotta go beyond the surface level, okay, situation. Okay, so the only true tragedy is that we do not see the yang within the yin and the yin within the yang. That's to understand, that goes back right up here. That's to understand here, to see the totality of the dualistic nature of reality, of the nature of phenomena, of the illusory nature of reality. Okay, so that's, I just say of reality meaning of phenomenal reality. Okay, I have to qualify. I don't mean ultimate reality. I mean nature of phenomenal reality. Okay, I should say of phenomenal reality. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So the only true tragedy is that we do not see. Okay. That. Okay. So this is the Tao. It is always true, no matter what happens. That is the impermanence of all phenomena. I think that's it. Ooh, I got one more story to tell. We leave that for next week. It's a 90 minutes already, Ty? I think it is, right? It's already 90 minutes. Okay. So that's, we're about halfway. We're just perfect. We're about halfway. We're about halfway through. Okay, there are 8 more, well, 9 more phrases, but one of them is not, it's not that. Oops, one of them is not. It's not really okay. All right. So we are halfway. Yeah, we're halfway there. Okay, so one more. Let me just finish these last 2 points. Okay, so here it is. Misfortune and fortune both follow each other. That's the key. They're connected to each other. Another way to say they're connected to each other. So they depend or rely on each other. Thus, there is neither fixed or determined misfortune nor fixed determined fortune. All right. Let's go to summary. Oh, geez, one more summary. Okay. Okay. So the ups and downs of life. Okay. Sun, shuai. Okay. Sun means flourishing. Shuai means to have loss. Oh, yeah, loss, right? Shuai. Or drop, or it means decline. You could say decline. Okay, shuai. Okay. So one, misfortune. Okay. We Tao cultivators should never become crushed by defeat. Okay. Or misfortune. Okay. Okay. We understand. Tao cultivators should understand how transition works. Okay. They regroup and learn from the situation. That's to go see beyond. Okay. All right. Then what's fortune? Tao cultivators do not become complacent or attached. Okay. They know how things can turn bad, how good things can turn bad. They follow the Tao and hold on to the good, or cherish the good. Hold on to the good means not the good thing. Hold on to the goodness of the Tao. That's the key. Okay. Or the virtues of the Tao. Okay, the goodness, the principles, the essence and the functions of the Tao, the principles, the essence, and the manifestations of the Tao. That's what I mean, or the virtues of the Tao, right? Previous chapter, I think chapter 49, I think it's 49. Yeah, chapter 49. Chapter 49 is the virtue of goodness. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, all right. So that's it for. I got it. Okay, that's it for. Let's see. That's it for the section 2. So I know it took a while, but there's a lot of. Okay. Okay. There's a lot of things to go. Okay, so let's do the one final key point, and let's call it a day for now. Okay, so because misfortune and fortune will follow one another, they can transform into each other without end. They connect. They're connected. No one can know what their ultimate outcome will be, right? Fortune, misfortune, fortune, misfortune. I don't know. You keep going forever. Okay, so neither misfortune nor fortune are determinate. Both misfortune and fortune are indeterminate, not a fixed or definite outcome. All phenomena is impermanent. Okay, so that's it. All right. It's already 90 minutes, so I'll stop right here today because there's still, let's see, there's still, this is page 4. Yeah, there's still like 6-7 pages, plus I got 3 more tables to show you. Okay, so let's just conclude our class for at this, and then we'll pick it up. I'll finish next Sunday, chapter 59. Then we'll do chapter 58. Sorry, then we'll do 59. 59 is not too long. It's a little bit shorter than this, so it's probably only going to be like 12 pages, maybe 13 pages of stuff. Okay, so all right, so I'll conclude the class for today. If I said anything wrong or misunderstood, I ask for the Buddhas and sages and Laozi's forgiveness. Okay, thank you, everybody.